What's going on, guys? James here, living life from dusk till dawn, and we are doing another upgrade on Blue Lightning, my 2012 Mazdaspeed 3. We've been doing a lot of things lately. We've been doing a lot of front end type of stuff, and I'm working towards installing a front mounted intercooler on the car, and then the next stage tune whenever that happens. But I want to be able to see it. So I was doing a whole bunch of Googling, a lot of research online, and I was seeing some of the options that I have available to me for kind of changing up the grille or the front end look of the car, the front bumper, whatever it is. And I see some people that chop and swap from different cars, but I found this one company, Bason-R, that does this open grille concept on the front. So I will show you exactly what that looks like, but basically it gets rid of all the black plastic air directing fins, whatever you want to call them, in the grille itself, and replaces it with a mesh in order to protect from rocks and all that sort of stuff. Let's check it out. There's not a whole lot to it. This is the main plastic piece here that will replace the smile, so to speak, in the front of the grille. That's the main piece, and then you also have this wire mesh, so to speak, that we're going to have to cut and trim in order to fit in the openings. First step, of course, is to take the front bumper off. I'm not going to bother showing you that if you guys are watching this. I'm hoping you've taken your bumper off before. If not, I've got a ton of videos on my channel that kind of show how to take it off. And I've already modified the front end of the car a decent amount, so my front bumper may not come out the same way that yours does. Sweet. Well, with the bumper off, we can take a look at this ugly face. Just kidding. But man, this thing is actually really sturdy. Forgot that I didn't show you kind of the frontal view there. So this is where it's going to end up going. And it just looks a lot more open. It's going to allow a lot more airflow, which also means it's going to allow a lot more bugs and that kind of stuff in. But I think it'll be okay. The wire mesh should do a good job of keeping the majority of the rocks out, but small pebbles and stuff are going to still get through on the road. So my AC condenser is probably going to take a decent beating, unfortunately. But live and you learn, right? We'll see what happens. Spinning you around here, this is what we're taking off. And it goes up to, this is so misleading. Yeah, no, we're going all the way up. All the way up. So from up here to down here is what we're going to end up removing. So it looks like we've got clips kind of throughout here. We've got some Phillips head screws, and then we may have to take some of this air duct work off of the upper portion of the bumper here as well in order to get to these. So we have the air cowl, whatever you want to call it. It's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws. 9 and 10 screws that you need to undo. And then all over across the top here, you have little pop tab type of things, these little body clips, where basically you press in the center dot and then that unlocks the whole thing, and you can just pull it out. That will remove this part, which I do intend to put back on, but it needs a clean. And then you remove the rest of the screws running along the outside here. So this one's broken, probably because this car's been in an accident, but here, and in the center right there are these really strange threaded body clip type of things. So you just unscrew the center and then you can pull that piece out. And then you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 underneath here. These two you have to undo in order to get into here where these little clip tabs are hiding, so that you can unclip it from the front. Also, once you have undone all of that and you're able to lift this up free, be sure to take off your wiring harness body clip right there and then unhook it from all of the little hooks running along in here. And then that removes the inner grille, just like that. Now it's nice and smiley. I will say the factory little splitter here does come off because it is attached to the front of the center grille piece. But when you put it all back together, you can screw it back into place if you want it, which I probably will for now. Next, I need to see how exactly this gets placed in here. I assume it's relatively similar because I already see all of the little clip edges right here. So I would say that these are all going to get clipped just like that. And then I'm gonna have to measure and cut the mesh. So what I'll probably end up doing with that is taking like a silver Sharpie or something. I'll set the mesh on here. I'll Sharpie out about, I don't know, ½ an inch beyond where it needs to be, or ¼ inch beyond, and then I'll cut it out. I am sure if you really wanted to, no, never mind. It's not long enough to be able to just screw this in place like that. So I'm gonna have to cut pieces out to make it fit. But that's fine. And then if you all missed the video where I installed that little air, the carbon fiber air intake system right here, I did not get a nut on this last screw right here because I couldn't reach it because that big cowl was in the way. So now is a good time for me to go in and just make sure that all of these are tight and good to go. Also, if you wanted to remove your front emblem in order to like repaint it or wrap it or something, this would be how you do it too, because it's literally just like pushed into place with little teeny tiny metal clips. So the other thought that I had when taking this apart is that you're losing your connection to that the front portion of your splash guard underneath. Now I don't have a splash guard on my Mazda, but I do intend on installing one. So I'm curious. I know that it connects on the sides to like where your fender liners, the front fender liners are, but I'm curious if I'm gonna have to do something fancy in order to get that plate back in. All right, first look. Nice. I know y'all keep getting me from the same angle here, but it's hard to do whatever this is and kind of like move the camera around a lot. I don't want to do this, as in put the old rusted, grubby, disgusting screws back in, but also I kind of need to in order to run the thing that I want to run here. But we got two triangles, one here and one here for the outer insert, and then the center is right there. So you could probably use scissors or tin snips or wire cutters or something for this. It's not going to be the cleanest. You could also use an angle grinder, but I think that's a little bit overkill. I have a Dremel that has, it's kind of like an angle grinder. It's a metal blade, tiny little disc, and I think it's going to work great cutting right through this. So I'm going to pop that out and give it a few chops. So I did a little bit more trimming after the fact, but you get the basic idea. So now it is time, whoop, step on all your stuff. I bought these, some black zinc coated self drilling or auto tapping screws, whatever. These are 9/16 of an inch long, and then you really just go for it. So I ended up taking those silver washers out because you could actually see a little bit too much of them through the front of the grill. But now, even though you can still technically see the screws if you look at it from a certain angle, they're not nearly as noticeable as they were. So that came out pretty good. All right, next I'm gonna go ahead. I already cleaned up the little cowl thing. I'm gonna get that put back in place. Getting this test fit in here, I realized that these little scoop type of things that were on the side are gonna show through the mesh. So instead, I took those off, and I'm actually gonna end up trimming this little section off on both sides. So I could still have my front cowl for that air intake coming through the suction, or through the carbon piece. And then also it doesn't mess with my holes and stuff, because these right here I use to lock the top portion of the bumper into the car, so I don't want to get rid of that. So a little bit of trimmage right here so that these do not show through the thing, and should be pretty good. And with a slight trim and some melted plastic, You're not going to really be able to see anything through the grill unless you're right there. Cool. Next, I got to get this back on. So we've got 2 screws here. Once again, I got to put these stupid rusted ones back in, but that's okay. So I'm going to put those there, and then all the tiny little pop tabs running across the top. Oh, I forgot to mention, to take these little pieces out of the corner that were right here, there were a ton more of these, and they just basically went into every single hole around the edge. There's what, 2, 4, 6 of them, so 12. Anyways, it's getting late. I'm gonna go put this together. And just like that, it is on. Now I haven't completely buttoned it up, obviously, because I have another video that I'm gonna be working on, and that is to install some horns in the front of this thing. Doesn't it look fantastic? I love that. So one last thing that I wanted to show is, as I mentioned, the reason I wanted to keep this ducting piece, well, 2 reasons. The first one is for the airflow going into the intake box, but the second one is because it has these holes right here that legitimately hold this whole thing in place on the top. That way it's not like weirdly floppy. Now, I mean, it would hold itself on without it, but I want it to be there. And besides, with it all trimmed up in that one little spot, you can't even see it. So, looks great. Cool. Well, I'm gonna get the garage cleaned up and all that sort of stuff. You don't really need to see me putting the front end back together because you didn't watch me take it apart. So, that took me probably about 2 hours or an hour 45, something like that. I was moving slow filming all that, so in all reality it should probably take you 45 minutes to an hour to include the marking and adjusting. I think the most amount of time was putting those screws in the back there. I am sure there's screws that come with the kit if I were to buy this from Bason-R themselves, but I didn't. I bought it from somebody else who's probably had that in their garage for months, and it didn't come with any screws, unfortunately. So I had to get creative. Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope you are following along on this journey. There's a lot of things that I have left to do to Blue, and this is only the beginning. I'm just doing some of the fun cosmetic stuff right now because it's a little bit easier to do than like getting my front mount intercooler mounted, which I have to do at some point. But I wanted to have that open grill on there before I did the front mount intercooler because I don't know necessarily how much airflow gets through the factory stock piece. So I don't know. Anyways, I hope you guys have learned something or enjoyed or want to come back and see me again. Blue needs a wash. Blue needs a buff. Blue needs work. Needs some love. But yeah, anyways, see you guys next time. Don't forget to live from dusk till dawn.